Let's go to Australia then and start the program with Christy Doran. The Roar out of Brisbane. And Christy, can we say, was that one that got away for you guys, or when we put the A-team on, we were just infinitely superior?
Oh, look, you've got to say it's one that's got away from the Wallabies, and haven't we seen this script before? It had flashbacks to 2017 to Dunedin when the Wallabies raced out to another 17-0 head start. I recall Easy Folau running away and scoring tries, and it had that feel to it, didn't it, right from the outset? But, oh, mate, let's be honest, it is a match that slipped through their fingers, and even at the end, Quade Cooper, huge opportunity with the 4-2 overlap, and he spills the ball, and there's the match with the scrum that was under so much pressure when, as you say, a better All Blacks side was coming off the bench, and you compare that to the Wallabies who were struggling up front, and Sam Whitelock, Gain Coles, the old pros, how good are they?
Yeah, it's a weird one sitting here watching this, because we're picking a squad this afternoon, 33 to go to the World Cup, and your players have got to be interchangeable, but quite clearly they're not.
Yeah, and I think it's also, though, let's be honest, the All Blacks had wrapped up the Bledisloe Cup a week earlier, and there was a moment, and a pivotal moment in the game, and it's probably happened at halftime, and it's 17-3, and the All Blacks had been playing out the back. They'd been trying to get on the fringes of the Wallabies. Damien McKenzie probably a bit loose, exposed some of those concerns at 10 there for him going forward. But what did they go back and doing? They started going through the middle of the All Blacks. The Wallabies probably thought more of the same. They're expecting them to go wide still, and yet the All Blacks go through the middle, suck in the numbers. It was just that was a masterclass there from Ian Foster. The calmness, and I think Sonny Williams was touching upon it during commentary, and he just said they'd be calm at halftime, and I think that's exactly what we saw. So that's a huge tick, huge feather in the cap for not only Fozzie and his team, but the side going forward. Finally, they've been placed under some adversity, and they came out with shining colours.
I don't agree it was a choke. I think it was one that got away. And, Christy, I always question under these circumstances, look, if you want to beat the All Blacks, mate, you've got to take every single point available. There are times in that first half where you had a 17-3 lead. And the fact that the All Blacks' first points came off a boot when we had no field territory, no possession or something, we were desperate, we needed to get on the scoreboard. I was screaming at the TV, take the goddamn kick, you losers. Take the kick, because in the end it comes down to 3 points. You probably left a good 6 or 9 easy points out there.
Don't disagree at all. And that was a key moment in the game when Tate McDermott decides to kick for the corner. And clearly, if they score there, McDermott being held up, brilliant covering defence, and Sam Whitelock, Artie Sevilla as well. If they score there, you look like a genius, don't you? And you're the halfback that's there that's done it too. But Test match rugby, it's built around scoreboard pressure, and I thought that showed probably the rugby smarts of New Zealand, their fighting characteristics to be able to stay in the hunt and then seize the moment. In stark contrast, that missed opportunity before half time. They needed to be further up than 17-3 at half time. But Carter Gordon striking the post, and it brings you back to Wellington in 2020 when Reece Hodge, I think he hit the post himself from a long-range effort that would have seen the Wallabies snap their wretched run across the ditch against you guys. So it's a game of small margins, and that's why scoreboard pressure is so crucial.
So, again, we asked this question last week, didn't we? What for Eddie Jones? He can take a hell of a lot from the game, but at the same time, there's still a gap there. Do you have the time, to get this right before the World Cup? And does that result change your expectations at all, or that performance?
Well, the good thing is everyone's got time now, don't they? They've got a month before the World Cup starts. It's pretty much a month to the day before the All Blacks take on France at the start to France. That'll help, and it will see a lot of sides narrow their focus for the Wallabies particularly. Clearly they've had to, and they've ripped up their game plan under Eddie Jones, and you've seen a number of players ushered in, like Carter Gordon, a change at halfback, crucial changes. I think there is time, but they are so fortunate that they are coming up against Georgia in their first match, and then Fiji. They're coming up against sides that are below them on the World Rugby rankings. And that sounds laughable, but that's the reality. The Wallabies are 8th, and they're not playing a single nation that's above them in the World Rugby standings at the moment. You compare that to the All Blacks, who have been magnificent to start 2023, and their first game, as I've just mentioned, is against France. New Zealand don't have the time to get it right. The Wallabies do, and if you take on Portugal in your last game before a quarter-final, it allows you a bit of a runway to, hopefully, from an Australian perspective, get some momentum. That's what Eddie Jones would have looked at before taking on the Wallabies coaching responsibilities, and that's probably one of the few things that the Wallabies have, and they're probably telling themselves, is, look, we've got a chance here. We've got a chance here. You've just got to get into a quarter-final, and then you're taking on England, who lost to Wales, who have been a rabble over the last 12 months. And that's a very winnable quarter-final.
All right, so that World Cup squad, what's it going to be looking like? Is Quade Cooper going to keep his place?
Well, I don't know if Jeff Wilson would want that to occur, but I think he will. I think he's got to go. And I don't know if he starts necessarily, but he and Carter Gordon will be the two tens. The big calls are around whether or not Michael Hooper, Wallabies' most capped ever captain, whether or not he goes. He's obviously missed the last 3 tests, struggled in South Africa, struggled all year for the Waratahs. He's probably the big decision, and that will probably be the headline as to whether or not he makes it or doesn't. If he does go, it'll be a huge moment of trust from Eddie Jones. I don't know if he'll make it. Probably the other big calls around Nick White, the halfback situation, and whether or not the Wallabies, after losing Alan Alatoa, they've got some crunch decisions to make up front. But the reality is, as we saw on the weekend, declared tight head props. So some big calls coming, but you would imagine at least 5 overseas players will be selected in this Wallaby squad for the World Cup.
So when Eddie says, Christy, in all of your experience, Christy Doran from the Raw out of Brisbane, 100%, as a matter of fact, if we get better, I think we will win the World Cup. If I could bet on it, I would. What are we meant to take from that?
Oh, look, I think he was right to say it's a coin flip to get into a semi-final. And that is the reality of it. Like we've already spoken about the fact that they've got a dream run to the World Cup semi-finals, then anything can happen. Are they a favourite for the World Cup? No, absolutely not. There's 4 nations: South Africa, New Zealand, France, certainly ahead of them. Ireland, you'd think as well, despite their choking tag that they've got to rid. It's not going to be easy for them on that difficult side of the draw, is it? But the Wallabies are a fighter's chance, and if you are a gambler, they're probably not the worst shout. They'd be paying double figures at least, and this is a side that, like South Africa, typically lifts come World Cups. So, look, you wouldn't be betting them you wouldn't think that they would win a World Cup, but it sounds crazy, but they're a strong chance to make the Final Four.
Thank you so much for that, Christy.
Devlin.
I'm as mad as hell, and I'm not going to take this anymore.
The Platform.